Uh, Good morning, good evening, and dear audience of the World Muslim Community Council. Kareem, welcome back. Probably today is our last lecture for our holy month, and this great occasion could be not be more joyful than our brother Ali Killer from Spain to bring us this wonderful talk titled Music Diversity in the Islamic World, a discussion of the way different magarams are used with focus on Quran recitation. For those who already hear, Dr. Killer before, and I'm sure you enjoy his music and his insight. For the other new audience, I would like to introduce Brother Ali Killer. He was born in London in 1973 and later moved to the district of Kent, where he spent the rest of his childhood until the age of 18. And he started learning the violin at the age of 7 and played in several classic music orchestras. He went on to study classical violin at the Royal North College of Music in Manchester, where he gained experience playing a string quartet. Now, he then went on to Damascus. Now these connections come to the Muslims. In Syria to study Arabic and Islamic science. He spent about almost 10 years in living Syria, working as an English teacher and a translator. So besides his music career, he has a very fruitful translator career. He translated tafsir of Imam Abdullah bin Sakhar al-Tastari. During his time in Syria, he studied tajweed and the art of Quran recitation and learned to sing with the tradition of the Maqam in the Zawiya of Damascus and Aleppo. He received instruction in singing from the distinguished Murshid Mustafa Karim, and learned the recitation of Quran from several masters, receiving the ijaz from Sheikh Abdul Razak Bakhlawan, and applying from the musical repertoire of a piece from Celtic, Arabic, Andalusi, and Turkish sources. He, basically was able to combine Arabic music and classical music. In 2006, he moved to Granada, and in 2007, he helped from the group of Al-Kawthar, hope I pronounced correct. He contributed in the group both as former arranger and the composer, and with Al-Kawthar, he recorded the CD Ru. So in 2012, now we get to his main achievement. He founded the Sufi music group of Al-Firdaus Ensemble, based in Granada, with musicians from Morocco and Spain. He has toured extensively with Firdaus Ensemble in Europe, North America, Turkey, Lebanon, US, Canada, and Malaysia. And probably one day, we can have you here in the Middle East, in UAE, and in Gulf regions. With this ensemble, he has recorded 3 albums, contributing as a performer, composer, and arranger and producer. First, this called Safa is released in 2014, and Noor released in 2017, and Shifa released in 2022. So I cannot wait to hear your performance or some music one day. But today, we have lucky to have a brother Ali Killer to share his more theoretical and philosophical, and based on his practical experience from as a musician and as a translator. So with this, we welcome Brother Ali to give us TED Talk. Yes, brother, please. Your turn.
Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, I will start with a short recitation of Quran, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداع إذا دعان فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون صدق الله العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. So I just ended with this beautiful verse. If my servants ask you about me, truly I am close, qareeb, and I answer the prayer of the one who calls on me. This is a guarantee. So alhamdulillah, first I ask all of you to pray for me, inshallah, in this blessed month, and pray for the ummah, and remember especially our brothers and sisters suffering in many places, and especially in Gaza. May Allah grant them relief soon, very soon, Ya Allah, and relief from their suffering, relief from oppression, inshallah. So now there are many ways of reciting the Quran, and for example, and this is part of the influence that my immersion, and should we say now in Al-Andalus and Morocco, which is actually the continuation in terms of the musical tradition, that I recited these verses in the Noba Ramal Maya. They have the maqam, what they call in the Andalusian tradition, Noba. So, which is Ramal Maya, which doesn't exist in the Oriental maqam. When we say Oriental, Sharqi, we mean the traditional maqams of the Sharq. So it shows how Al-Andalus developed a unique tradition, which was also very influenced by the European setting, European culture. And of course, Granada is a crossroads between Africa, the Mediterranean, and the North, Europe. So you have this amazing, crossroads of traditions, influences. So We're going to go from the beginning now, inshallah, of our tradition, musical tradition. And of course, music is a very controversial subject in the Muslim world. Today, we're not going to go into the fiqh, as I'm not a faqih, and I'll leave that with the fuqaha about the justification of music. You know, it's a ongoing debate. But certainly, music has flourished in the Islamic world, and from the beginning, it's an essential part of our tradition. The call to prayer, the adhan. Mashallah, we have the most beautiful call. There was a discussion about whether to use bells or whether to use other forms of banners or to call the people using, following the example of the Jews and the Christians. And then when the Sahaba had a dream, and he was revealed, and in this dream were revealed the words of the adhan. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he chose the companion with the best, most beautiful voice, Sayyidina Bilal Habashi, radiallahu anhu, and he was the first mu'adhin chosen for his beautiful voice. Then we go on to the recitation of the Holy Quran. Actually, just to mention about the adhan of Sayyidina Bilal. I heard once, I should actually try to find somebody who knows the adhan, but actually the adhan of Sayyidina Bilal has been transmitted. It's quite a simple adhan. It has a melody, but it's a simple adhan. And it's actually been transmitted to this day. So there are some people who know this adhan. Unfortunately, I don't know it, but I have, I believe, heard it once. Somebody who knew it. Let's continue talking about the most, should we say, the purest form of music. Although someone would criticize, oh, you can't call this music, this is a Quran or haram. No, it's subhanAllah, the Prophet ﷺ said, if we say that music is melody, and is also, is a language. Music is a language. It has sentences, phrases, beginning, end, development. It's like language. When you write, it has a beginning, it has a development, an end. In sound. And the beauty of this language is that it is universal. And the Holy Quran, the recitation of the Holy Quran has moved many to tears who don't understand Arabic, and has brought many people to Islam. Just the sheer beauty of this divine symphony. It goes direct to the soul, and it speaks to the ruh, because this is a timeless, uncreated Quran. This is a great mystery. We read a book, there's actually, its essence is uncreated, the uncreated divine speech. This is powerful, and it has been preserved to this day. In the Quran is a promise. We sent down the Quran and we will preserve it because it's the last revelation. So, and the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in a hadith, that whoever does not يتغنى من لم يتغنى بالقرآن فليس مني, who does not recite the Quran with a melodious voice is not one of my people. It's actually a obligation almost. I don't want to get into fiqh, but that we just can't recite the Quran like a book. You never hear somebody reciting the Quran. Okay, when they're maybe in a discourse quoting, but in terms of recitation, there always must be a melody, because it's not just any other book. It's distinguished. There's another hadith that says, beautify the Quran with your voices, or beautify your voices with the Quran. So this is very, very special. We have this, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the angels, they love to listen to the Quran beautifully recited. And we try to, obviously, different people are gifted differently in terms of their voices and their musical capacity, but we do our best, we do our best. And there's a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ was passing by a mosque or a house, and the Sahabi Abu Musa al-Ashari was reciting, and he stopped to listen, and he stopped to listen to hear this beautiful Quranic recitation. And then the next morning, Abu Musa, was told that the Prophet had stopped and listened, and he said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if only I knew that you were there, I would have recited even more beautifully. So, and there are a number of the Sahaba who were known for their beautiful voices and beautiful recitation of the Quran. One that the Prophet said to him, it was Abdullah bin Mas'ud, that you've been given a mizmar in Mizmari Dawood. Mizmar is like an instrument, like the beautiful voice of Sayyidina Dawood. To mention Sayyidina Dawood, because he was also known for his beautiful voice. I mean, in the Bible, there are stories about how he played the harp, and he would sing and praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in nature, and the mountain would echo his tasbih, his praise, and the birds would join him in praise. So, and this is mentioned about the birds and the mountain. This is from the Quran, mentioned I think more than once now, how the nature would join in. And we just look at nature, and there's so much music, rhythm. Everything is rhythm, and you see the waves, the way the sound of the trees, the birds. And music is nature's full of music, and it's all tasbih. We know, because subhanAllah, it's there's nothing in creation that does not glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, inshallah, we can also use our voices and our musical instruments to praise and glorify, inshallah. And now we're going to go on to how when Islam spread to encompass the great civilizations, the Roman, Greek world, the Persian world, especially Persia. These were the great civilizations at the time. And Persia, of course, had a very sophisticated system of music and instruments. And so the Islamic civilization, or Islam, took from everywhere. It was like a filter, right? So it took what was beneficial, left which was not that which was not, which was actually against the tradition or the principles. But of course, it took from Greek philosophy, took from medicine. In fact, even the traditional Arabic medicine today is called Tib Yunani. It's called Greek medicine. But of course, it developed. It took and it developed. It's part of that. We have, of course, in the Islamic world, in all the great cities, we have the hammam, the Arabic baths, but also other civilizations had them. The Romans, the Persians. So this is something that was taken, that science, because of course cleanliness is such a important principle in our religion. So that was, and then we have also the architecture. We have of course the development of the great mosques, and they also learnt from the architecture of other civilizations. So we have the minarets, taken from the tower, the church tower. Okay, so and of course that facilitated the adhan, because in those days there were no microphones. So still, alhamdulillah, we have in Granada, in the mosque. Inshallah, if you come to visit Granada, which I recommend anyone who hasn't visited, you can hear the adhan from the minaret. This is actually quite a recent mosque, just 12, 15 years was built. But so in this way, and of course, the musical tradition, songs, the recitation of Quran, was expressed according to the local culture, and so you got thousands of just endless different expressions of Islam, and that's reflected in the dress, and in the architecture, in the food. We have such a diversity in the Muslim world. The problem is with globalization and modernity, and also with recordings, the kind of television, all these things. We have the kind of domination of certain styles. So it means that the diversity we have, talking about the Holy Quran, which is our focus today, has been reduced greatly. And this is not to, depreciate the value of, for example, the great Egyptian reciters. These were great masters, and of course, the art of Quranic recitation using the maqams was reached like a peak in Egypt with great reciters, Sheikh Abdul Basit Abdul Samad, Sheikh Mahmoud Khalil al-Husari, and the other great reciters, many great reciters from Egypt, mainly Egypt, and they developed a kind of style which has been copied all over the world. And of course, the problem with that is that, of course, before the kind of we don't know, often the traditional styles of recitation have been lost, how people used to recite the Quran, but it wouldn't have been like the Egyptians in Indonesia, for example. In Indonesia now, they have these amazing Quran reciters, and they recite exactly like Sheikh Abdul Basit Abdul Samad. But I am convinced that in Southeast Asia, there must have been a unique way of reciting Quran before. But now, I'm sure maybe it exists. I mean, there's so many thousands of islands, so maybe there are villages where they recite the Quran in a different way. You know? So I would like to, inshallah, be informed. But but the Quranic recitation, the art of Quranic recitation, which was greatly developed in Egypt, took on the maqams, the 7 main maqams. Now, interestingly, that 5 of the names of these maqams are actually Persian, the Persian names. So we can just go through the 7 quickly. Of course, there are endless ramifications of these different maqams, but the 7 main maqams are combined in the word 3 words, Sunni'a bisihr, which means made from magic. You know, it's just a phrase, you know, and the Sad is for Sabah. Okay, Sabah. And then Sabah, and then we have the Noon for Nahawand, and then we have the Ain for Ajam. Ajam is an Arabic word meaning foreign. Okay, and actually Ajam is the major scale. So it's which is very familiar in classical music, in Western music. It's the kind of one of the main maqams. There are only 2 actually used mainly in Western music. So we go and we have Sabah, Nahawand, Ajam, and then we have B for Bayati. So then Bayati, also one of the maqams which has a quarter tone. You say quarter or microtone. Okay. Bayati. And then we have the Seen. Seen is Sega. Okay. And then we have Siga is actually the maqam of one of the oldest songs, Tala al-Badr alayna. Although many people sing this in Ajam. Tala al-Badr alayna min thaniyatil wada. But that's actually westernization of the maqam of Tala al-Badr alayna, which is طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب شكر علينا ما دعا للناهدا. So that's actually I think it's called Husam. It's a what do you say, a relation of Sega. Right? So that's the kind of original tune of Badrina. I mean, maybe it's because it's a Persian maqam, maybe that actually came a bit later, but that's how we received this song, you know, the kind of oldest song. Then we go on to Siga, from Siga, we go on to Hijaz. Hijaz is from the Hijaz. No? So, and this is a maqam which everyone will recognize. When they hear this maqam, they'll think of the Risala, they'll think of Arabian Nights, they can think of all those films, you know, because it's used in the soundtracks, you know. And it's also the most popular maqam for the adhan. Right? So, for example, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. I stop there, otherwise I have to go up to pray. Okay, so anyway, this is Hijaz. Yeah, you'll be. I'm sure that everyone is familiar with this maqam. Right? And then we have then we have the last maqams, which is last but not least. This is Rast, and they call it the Rast, which is the first degree, I believe, in the scale. Rast is they call it the mother of maqams. Now, also this is another popular maqam for the adhan, and it's also interesting that the maqams they relate also to times of day. This is a tradition which also exists in the Indian system, a very sophisticated musical system called the raga, in which all the ragas, each raga has a particular time of day. So, and they say about Rast that if the evening is coming, farusudun, recite or sing in this Rast. And it's interesting that this is the maqam that is used in Turkey. It's actually amazing. In Turkey, they have a maqam for each of the adhans, you know. So mentioning that the maqams that we've mentioned today, the adhan of Fajr prayer is in Sabah, which is kind of mournful, mysterious maqam. For the sake of time, I'm not going to actually go into do an example, a demonstration of each maqam. But you can look them up. You can on YouTube. You know, there are examples. So when you go to visit Turkey, listen out or record the adhan for the Fajr. It's in Sabah, and then you have the Dhuhr prayer, which is in Bayati, and then the Asr prayer is in Rast. So And I will give a short example of rust. It's a very important maqam. The interesting thing about rust is that the scale has ascending. It ascends in one manner and then it descends in another manner, which is something which is unique to this maqam actually. So you would be da, 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 da. So this is and the second and the sixth notes are microtones, you know. Otherwise, it would become a major sound. Da, 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 da. Major, right? But if you these microtones transform it into rasta. Da, 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 da. And then on the way down, da, dee, da, 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 da. Okay, so you have this feature of us. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. And it's a very beautiful maqam because it's like a homecoming maqam. It's like you really feel it's like grounding. You know? It's like a root. Like either you could say like because other maqams just leave you kind of you know swimming in space. You know, it's like, but this kind of it's like it has this weight of rooting you. It's like this. So this is actually, I mean, spiritually, the coming of the evening represents the night, the return. So at the end in the cycle, we're all journeying to the akhirah. So this is, I mean, these have a profound meaning. These maqams. So on our CD Shifa, we have a beautiful solo oud solo by a master oud player who's actually Spanish but very much has Turkish masters, and you can listen to this. This is in maqam rust. Now, the thing about the maqams is that you can, as in the recitation of the Quran, you can actually go to other maqams, that there are neighboring maqams. You know, you can't just jump to 3 doors down. You know, you kind of go, but from one maqam you can go to another, and that's a stepping stone to another. You know, but you should come back home. You know, at the end. So this is often something that sometimes we lose track and go off, and then we don't know how to get back. You know, so. But this is, with training, we learn how to come home again, you know, to the starting point of maqam. So it's like a musical piece, and you have this in classical music as well, where you have the tonic, where they go through different key changes, and then but always coming back. Otherwise, the musical composition will not satisfy. You have to come home. You know, this is otherwise you're left in the air. You know. So yeah, so this is a very important feature of our tradition as well, of the musical tradition. Other traditions that they remain within the maqam, just explore that, you know. Whereas, like the rag, the Indian tradition, for example, but very much in the maqam tradition, which is used mainly in the Middle East, and of course, each area has colors, so that the maqam is not exactly the same. You can recognize it, but it has a local feature, you know. So you find in Turkey and even within Turkey differences, but definitely the Turkish Hijaz has a different tone. And then some of these maqams also are used in Morocco, in Al-Andalus, but again they have a different color. You know, different Sega is different in the Andalusian Sega, and also Hijaz is also has a special, you know, taste to it. You know, yeah. We're going to now talk about the development of. Well, we're going to talk about a very important personality and how this gave rise to the birth of the Andalusian tradition, although of course that developed and transformed over the years. But the beginnings of the Andalusian musical system actually was brought and initiated by a very interesting character, amazing, brilliant, talented musician, poet, and he was called Ziryab. He's known as Ziryab. Okay, so Ziryab, which actually is his nickname, means blackbird. Now, I don't know if you have in Abu Dhabi, you have blackbirds. But in England and also here in Spain, many blackbirds. And for me, they have the most beautiful song. And also, each blackbird has a unique interpretation, which is like subhanallah. It's amazing. It's amazing. But the blackbird is nothing to look at, you know. In fact, the blackbird is a male. It's black and it has an orange beak. The female is kind of a brown color, and so he was known as the blackbird for two reasons. He was very dark skinned. Some say that he maybe had even African roots, and I mean, you know, there are different theories now about his origins, like Kurdish, Persian. But anyway, so both his dark skin color and of course his beautiful voice. Yeah. So and he was born in 789 in Mosul in northern Iraq, and his real name was Abul Hassan Ali ibn Nafi'. Okay, and so he came to the Abbasid court under the tutelage of And this was in the time of Harun Rashid, the great Harun Rashid, one of the Abbasid, one of the greatest of the Abbasid Khalifas, and so he was under the tutelage of Ibrahim al-Mawsili. And then one day he sang in front of the Khalifa Harun Rashid, and he was incredibly impressed, you know. In fact, he outshone his master. And so his master became jealous, and he was banished from the court. He had to leave. And where did he go? Well, he had a journey. First of all, he went to Syria, and then he went on to Tunisia, and he became a court musician in the courts of the Qayrawan, which was one of the great centers of Muslim power in the West. It was the first. In fact, it was the first center from which Islam spread to the rest of North Africa, further west. So, a very important center. And it was established by the Sahabi as well. Sahaba. And so we have. He was in Qayrawan for a time, and then he fell out with the Emir, and then he received an invitation from the court at Cordoba, which was now the capital of Al-Andalus, after the famous Abdurrahman al-Dakhil, who came from the last surviving Umayyad. He came to Al-Andalus, and he had the advantage that his mother was Berber, a Mazir. In this way, he could unite because of course, Tariq bin Ziyad was Berber, and there were many. The beginning of Al-Andalus, it was Arab tribes, and it was from Yemen, from Syria. And it was also the Berbers. They're a significant part of the population. So he had this advantage, you know, of having the Umayyad, you know, pedigree, royal pedigree, Arab, you know, and also having the Amazigh mother. So in this way, and in 1750 he was the one who united Al-Andalus, which was very divided, and he became the first Emir of the Al-Andalus. So, and Ziryab, I'm sorry, I don't have but when he arrived, Hakam had already died, and so, but then Abdurrahman II renewed his invitation. Not only that, he became a star. You know, he was given a palace, and he was given a huge salary, like 200 dinars or something, you know, a month, and he was incredibly productive. So Ziryab not only brought this musical tradition, but he also brought fashion and gastronomy, sophisticated, what do you call it, eating, like habits and cuisine, and of course all of these arts were very much imbued with the Greek knowledge of the humors. You know, so there's also in terms of colors, in terms of foods, balancing the nature of foods, and of course the musical tradition, medicine. It was all very much influenced by that tradition. And Ziryab is reported to have invented the fifth string of the oud, the lute, and he added the fifth string, which is called the soul, alma, soul. And he, because of course the other strings represent the four elements, so he added this element. And he also colored the strings to to represent these the different humors, air, fire, water, and earth, and their qualities. So we're going to do a little diversion here, because the science of music and the maqams was used in the Bimaristans, and these were the hospitals that were established all over the Islamic world. I visited in Syria 2 monuments in Aleppo and from the Mamluk time, and in Damascus, I visited Bimaristan from the Ayyubid time, and we have in Granada a Bimaristan which was built by Muhammad V, and this was the peak of the the Nasrid dynasty, when the most beautiful palaces were built in the Alhambra, Court of the Lions, and the other palace. So and so these Bimaristans, they used music, and especially they used music to heal the psychiatrically sick patients, because of their power to balance. So they would have musicians. They would have a special area where the musicians would perform. And one of the important features of a Bimaristan is the sound of running water. So they would always have a fountain. They would have plants, fragrant plants, flowers, trees, so that also the natural sounds, fragrances, and green, which is healing. I think we all experience this, when we're trapped in the city and city life, and then we go to a park, we just see the green, and this brings joy and peace to our souls. We come from Jannah, we come from paradise, and also music brings us, connects us with our origin, inshallah, with our abode, final abode, inshallah. So we have this Bimaristan and the importance of music used for healing. So this is, we could say, now it's been developed more recently in the West. It's called musical therapy. So we now go back, inshallah, to just to mention that Farabi, this great scholar, Persian scholar, the Islamic world, who wrote on so many subjects, including music. and once he played the oud to a group of people, and when he played the oud, and they started laughing, he managed to strike, the use the maqam, which triggered their laughter, and then he played another maqam. They started all crying, Then he played another maqam, and they all fell asleep. So, what I believe, is that we have become very desensitized. I remember I played the violin in the most remote place in Algeria. I took my violin, and we were invited to this very simple adobe house, and the patio of the house is just sand, with maybe a little wall around it, just sand, and then they put out a mat, and we sat out, and they served tea, and then I played a tune on my violin, and they were completely mesmerized. They couldn't believe it. It was like something from another world. So, of course, there was musical traditions there, but this was something that they hadn't experienced before. These people, and their ears are not polluted. They're still sensitive. It's really a very simple village near an oasis, and no sound pollution. But anyway, Ziryab, going back to Cordoba, he established the first music school in Europe, and he had incredible techniques to expand the voice, using wooden sticks in the mouth, and a belt, to use a belt to actually empower the breathing of the voice. So it's interesting. Even at that time, there was, well, when I say even that time was when Cordoba had street lighting and drains, and this was the most important and densely populated city in Europe. London was a squalid, like a village. People would just throw the sewage out of the window, and you're lucky if you don't get hit. So this was a difference, at that time. It was a huge gulf, and of course the European kings would send their children to the princes and princesses to be educated in Cordoba, and that would happen in the mosque. In the mosque was the university. At each pillar there would be a scholar teaching a particular science. And then we could talk about so we're going to talk now a little bit about the Andalusian tradition. Now Ziryab began this tradition, which became called the Nauba. Now in Al-Andalus, up to 21 Naubas were developed, but of these Naubas, maybe 11 survived, and they continue in Morocco. And also, some of these Naubas continue in Algeria And generally, the Andalusian musical tradition continued in Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. Okay, and in Algeria, it's called Ghanati. The Andalusian tradition is called Ghanatiya. So we have a song which is an Algerian song. We call it Ghanatiya, which comes from Granada, no? And and they have some amazing orchestras to this day in Algeria. One came to Granada, performed, and many of them have even Spanish surnames. They have Spanish roots. Very interesting. And then in Tunisia, it's called Ma'louf, the tradition. Ma'louf is the Andalusian tradition there. So the Andalusian, the Nobats, they go to Morocco. But interestingly is that you have these maqams which are more closer to what is Gregorian chant. If you listen to Gregorian chants and the modes they used, and this is actually, interestingly, the beginning of Western music. The beginning of classical music is the Gregorian chant. So the beginning of classical music was modal. It was a modal tradition. So you find this flavor, although they're singing in Arabic, but I mean, for example, Ramadan is the one we did, which is the Noba, which is used for Madih, for the songs in praise of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is special Noba, no? The others are used more for kind of they call secular poetry, court music, but this is for sacred music. And we have the famous, maybe some of you have heard the Moroccan way that they sing the burda, which has various changes, but the main tune is مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم يا ربي صل على محمد وعلى ساداتنا آله وصحبه كرام. Okay, so this is Raman Maya, and they have this beautiful kind of polyphony. You listen to Moroccan singers singing together, they have a kind of harmony. It's not intended harmony, but it is kind of polyphony, right? With the different voices, you have some high voices, some low voices. It's very beautiful. Yeah. So I don't know, but this this resembles a little bit like Gregorian chant, that might be sung in a church, wouldn't be out of place, no? It's a very similar mode. So now actually, interestingly, the national anthem, of course, many people don't know that, especially the right wing, because we have a very strong, quite strong right wing. It's actually, especially in Andalusia, ironically, and the national anthem, the Spanish national anthem, is actually not Spanish. It's actually from a noble which is called Istihlal. So, dum 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 dum. This is the Spanish anthem, but the actually it's from the I can't remember it. The original tune is dum 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 it changes the rhythm, right? So, but anyway, just to give you an example of the influence of something that they would probably not want to know, as even they've been trying to in some where they call it the Vox Party. When they're dominant, they even removed a statue of one of the Muslim as a scholar, or was in the city of Zaragoza. I was shocked by that. So it gives you the kind of idea of what's going on. But alhamdulillah, on the other hand, there are many people coming to Islam and rediscovering their roots and actually who have a great appreciation of what the Muslims left here in Al-Andalus. I mean, these monuments are the source of the greatest tourism in Spain. Alhambra is the greatest tourist attraction here in Spain. People coming every day, it's full. So, and then we have, let's talk about flamenco, So, actually, before that, we'll talk about the fact how the orchestra. So we have it's interesting, the Andalusian orchestra, and the head of the orchestra is either he plays the rabab or the violin. The rabab is the most ancient form of the violin. It's like it's small, the skin, and one or two strings, gut strings, and it's interesting because you'll find in an Andalusian orchestra these very sophisticated instruments. I mean, the qanun which is the great grandfather of the piano, very sophisticated instrument with all these microtones and keys to change the maqams. You even now have pianos. They use pianos because a lot of the modes are they don't have microtones, or the microtones are very slight, so the piano is possible, but, with most of the Oriental Sharqi maqams we talked about earlier, you can't play the piano, but the piano it's fixed. Whereas the other instruments like the cello, the violin, these instruments which don't have frets, you can actually play the in-between notes in the quartet. So you find the rabab, this interesting how a rabab and then a piano, these other instruments are much more violins, European kind of violins and violas, and yet there must be the rabab, no? So they joke about the rabab because it has this sound which is So it has this kind of funny sound to it, no? But it's very authentic, no? You can hear it there in the kind of. So, for example, the great Abdul Karim Rais was the leader of the orchestra of Fez. They came to perform at the World of Islam Festival, 1976. My father organized. They performed in that festival. And of course, this is the model of the Western orchestra. You can see, the model of the Western orchestra is based on the Andalusian orchestra. The guitar and the lute, of course, comes from the word oud, which means wood, came lute, al-oud, right? And this is the great grandfather of the guitar, right? And then we come to the guitar, which is, of course, here in Spain, a very important instrument, and also flamenco. So it's very interesting how the strong influences that this musical tradition has, flamenco, in the guitar, because although it uses harmonies, it's essentially modal. Flamenco music is essentially modal, and it uses a Phrygian mode, which also is like the Kurd. It's a maqam Kurd in the. So also they use a bit of Hijaz as well, no? So this is very close, to the Andalusian tradition, and also you find in the same way the relationship between the oud and the singer. Okay, so the singer is accompanied by the oud, and when the singer goes to another maqam, the oud follows and embellishes, and it's like a duo. It's a beautiful relationship, right? And the same way the guitar accompanies the voice, and although the guitar will demonstrate some, what do you call it, brilliance, but always respecting the singer. The singer is a leader, it's not like the guitar suddenly goes off. No, it's always accompanying and complementing the voice. And this is the nature of in the Andalusian tradition. It's very interesting. You see this also in Algeria, but the way they play the violin now, the Andalusian way of playing the violin is like this. Why? So that they can sing. So, except for obviously the wind instruments now, the wind instruments, they're a minority. I mean, that maybe you have the ney, which is also used, although it's not a traditional, one of the traditional Andalusian instruments. So the traditional Andalusian instruments are mainly stringed instruments and percussion, and all of them they can sing at the same time. So the voice and I was told, and I'm sure this is the case also most musicians in Morocco, they start by singing. They start with the voice. In the zawiya, and they learn to sing, and then the instrument comes later. both of our musicians, Alkana and player, the same. He was taken to Zawiya, he learned the songs, and then he took up his instrument later. And in Algeria, there's a music school there, and they all learn to sing first, and then they choose an instrument. So, so the voice leads there. So in flamenco, the great duo of our time was Camarón de la Isla, this great legend, a great singer, flamenco singer. He's the most famous. Nobody like it. He's like Thumb of flamenco. And of course Paco de Lucía. So this duo was amazing, amazing this relationship. Now the relationship of flamenco. So the gypsies originally, they said they came from India, and this is why you have in flamenco, there are also in the singing and even the dancing clear Indian influences, but then you also have these Arabic, Andalusian influences, and they say that when the Moriscos were the Muslims when they were marginalized, after the expulsion of the Muslims, the Muslim community became marginalized, and so there was this kind of mixing with the gypsies. So there was this, they influence each other. And I said it goes back a long way. In our time, the relationship between the musicians from gypsy musicians or flamenco, let's say flamenco, because not that flamenco is an art form, and it's not only gypsies who have become masters in this art form. So, since the 1950s, there are recordings of both in Morocco and Spain of flamenco musicians with Andalusian musicians. Andalusi bands, as you say, or group ensembles, and you can see how it's very easy to combine them. And in fact, we did in our music in our group. We collaborate with two flamenco guitarists, and they feel at home when they play with us. Yeah, it's like it's like cousins. Yeah, musically, it's very, very close. So, and talking about this, subhanAllah, you have in Celtic music also some Celtic modes, which are very close to Andalusian modes. This is why we, in some of our songs, we combine. Let me just think of an example. We have this. What's the maqam called? It's called. It begins with a Z. I can't remember the exact maqam, but there's a maqam in Morocco. They use it for this very famous song, Ana Mali Fiyash. So, أنا مالي فياش إيش عليا مني نقلق من رزقي لاش والخالق يرزقني أنا مالي فياش إيش عليا مني نقلق من رزقي لاش والخالق يرزقني اللهم صل على المصطفى حبيبنا محمد عليه السلام اللهم صل على المصطفى حبيبنا محمد عليه السلام So you can hear now. So this is a kind of a very loose rendition or inspired by a Irish song. Right? So you see how the Celtic and Andalusian as it was. It's just this is Ramadan, let's say. But it's very interesting that they know that also the troubadours, the musicians who came from Spain, they travelled to Ireland. You have the drum, which is very similar to the duff. So there's probably almost quite likely to be influences there as well between the. I think this has been written about as well. So and now we go to want to talk about another mode which is incredibly universal, and I call this the pentatonic. I mean, it's called the pentatonic mode, and this mode, which is 5 notes. So this is a scale that is used, and I think this is very fitri, no? I think you even find this in birdsong, this mode, but this is used all over the world. So traditional Chinese music, South American indigenous music, and of course African music. So now I don't know how long we've been going, but yeah. So I think I'll end on this point. So it's unfortunate, we talked about earlier, that the diversity, and this is in terms of Quran recitation, is being reduced obviously by globalization and by the recordings, all these things. Also the printing of the Hafs Qurans, because there are of course 10 different readings of the Quran, riwayas. And these days, except for of course Morocco and the West Africa, where very much the Warsh is a dominant reading, and it's also would have been in Andalus as well, a dominant reading. But there are many other readings, but these have been less preserved, and I mean they are preserved, of course. They're alhamdulillah, the Qurra who know the 10 readings, and the great work of Imam Shatibi. He's the from Shatiba near Alicante in Levant, Spain. He was the scholar who wrote this poem, recording all the differences of the Qira'at, which is the standard work that is studied for Qira'at Shatibiya. So, but anyway, so in Sudan, they do keep this, they recite with a different riwayat, the riwayat of Duri, And they also have a different kind of recitation, which was made famous by this great reciter, Sheikh Muhammad Nooreen Siddiq, rahimahullah, and he died very young, just quite recently, maybe 2 years ago, in a car accident with some of his students. I was told actually this morning in Mecca, but rahimahullah, read a Fatiha from his soul, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم الضالين آمين. And may Allah elevate his station, inshallah, with each verse of Quran that he recited. And he made a particular style famous. Well, this is the style that's used in Sudan, but through the television media, he became famous. I actually shared a video with Sayyid Yusuf. I don't know if you can. Do you know how to share it? So we could listen to him a little bit.
Yes. Is it? Can you share?
I don't know how to share. If you can share, if you know how to share, I'm pretty. My knowledge of Zoom is very basic, but I did share it with you. I shared it on your WhatsApp, so you have it.
Oh. So thank you very much. Yeah, brother Keeler. I think I learned a lot. It's amazing, and the diversity of music and maqam and Quran recitation, Islamic chanting across the Muslim world. Alhamdulillah. In this last month, we've benefited from your knowledge and your demos, actually, because many people can talk about music series and history and culture heritage, but I think you can also demo with your own talent. That's so grateful, and we cannot wait to have you, demonstrate or perform in front of us one day, inshallah.
Inshallah, we hope so.
Yeah, actually, I just have one a bit related to my own personal or cultural background. In China, in northwestern China, we have Muslim communities which practice some Quranic and Islamic music. They also call it mukam, in Chinese mukam, but this most practiced by the Uyghur Muslims. I think it's some Central Asia or Sufi influence. Have you, noticed this, and do you think that how that fit into this diversity?
Yeah. I will confess, inshallah, that I'm not familiar with the Uyghur tradition, but inshallah, I would love to look it up. And if you have any recordings, we'll say
it's
you can share with me. So I'm very happy to hear that they have. I don't know if they have a recitation of Quran. Do they? Have you heard their recitation of Quran? So,
but they are more familiar.
I'm not familiar with that, so I would love to listen to that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. With this, we thank Brother Ali again and for bringing us this joy with his music knowledge and skills. And we thank all the audience for your attention, and may you have a blessed Ramadan, and may you enjoy your Eid al-Fitr after a few days, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, brother. I think we'll stop here.
Yeah. I didn't finish the point, but it's okay.